What's going on, everyone? This is Andrew O'Connell with Pristine Capital coming at you with yet another market recap video. It is March 25th, 2021. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel if you enjoy this content, and I will continue to make it for you. Today, we're going to be talking about the price action in the indices. Nice reversal day today. We'll go under the hood and we'll check out our sectors and style factors as we always do. We'll talk about some of my trades for the day, and then we'll wrap up with some options order flow. But before we jump in, quick risk disclaimer as always. Nothing in this video should be construed as investment advice or recommendations. Please follow your own trading plan, your own risk parameters. And last but not least, do not YOLO your entire account into any one of my trades. All right, let's jump in for today. So yeah, we've been in this corrective sequence that has been brutal. Oh, okay, this is TAP. I was looking at that a little bit earlier. It's one of my holdings. Oh my gosh, yeah, it's a nice looking candle there. So we had, for our box scores, S&P 500 as measured by the SPY up 0.56%. We had the NASDAQ QQQ down 0.17%. We had the IWM small caps up 2.37%. And then we had the Dow Jones up 0.65%. So Q's lagging for today. But yeah, you can see, we were talking about this in our pre-market session. And I was like, let's see if they just take out a bunch of stops below this 50-day simple moving average. And sure enough, because this is the thing, like a lot of players that are using technical levels, I use these technical levels all the time, and I do a lot of this stuff too, so that's how I know about this. A lot of these market makers, big players in the market, they know where people are putting their stop orders. Because think about it, it's such a logical thing where it's like, hey, if the market breaks below the 50-day moving average, I'm going to stop out of my position. So a lot of times, like if you're looking for liquidity and you're that market maker, that big player in the market, okay, there's going to be a ton of liquidity and orders resting right below this 50-day. That's essentially what happened, where it looked like we were plunging into the abyss at one point during the trading session. Then we ended up having a really nice rally, and we put in a nice hammer candle today. So you can see we opened up below the point of control for the month. We opened up below the 20-day simple moving average, and we ended up closing above all these key moving averages. So above 50, above 20, above the 5 EMA, and now we're on the upper half of this monthly value area. So it's kind of crazy, in the markets, one day can make such a difference where, if you look at these two candles, these are like the exact opposite price action right here. And it's just really crazy how the tides can turn. That's why I love playing this game. It's the best game ever. But yeah, you can see nice positive day for the market. At this point, the bias definitely has to be, testing the upper range of this monthly value area here at 39.35. Keep in mind, this is another dynamic we've been talking about. The last week of the month has typically been very brutal for the market. We do have a large rebalance. We have pension funds selling. But I'm starting to get the feeling that, if I'm talking about it and looking at these things ahead of time, there's probably other players in the market that also saw how, the end of the month was in January and February, and everyone, I'm sure, has adjusted their game a little bit to take advantage of that or protect themselves from it. So yeah, nice day for the S&P 500. If we look at the NASDAQ, I'm going to pull up the NQ futures. I was trading the NASDAQ quite a bit today. Really just day trading it and scalping it. And you can see down 0.02% for the NASDAQ. NASDAQ is still looking the worst technically. So you can see we're still below this monthly value area, and we're still below all those key moving averages. And if we look at the small caps, we have our IWM. You can see IWM was looking pretty brutal. Huge correction from the highs. About a 10% correction in the small caps. We ended up having a really nice bullish close here, but we still haven't even tagged that monthly value area. So this is, a really nice oversold bounce, but we don't really have much to go off of. We're still below all the key moving averages and below the monthly value area. The index that, in my opinion, looks the best, surprisingly, I usually make fun of the Dow, but the Dow is looking pretty positive here. So we never even tested this monthly value area, and we're above all the key moving averages, putting a really nice, really nice candle here. So the Dow is looking very positive. Let's take a look under the hood. We'll take a look at our heat map. And okay, so for our heat map, as we showed earlier, the NASDAQ was the worst performing index. And what's really weird actually is at one point the NASDAQ was leading the market and the small caps were lagging behind the most. Then about 2 hours into the session, that completely changed. So what I'm seeing here is like, it looks like a lot of these machines and algos that run the market, it's almost like they're confused. They're like all getting cross-wired and, they're interacting with each other in very strange ways. So yeah, you can see here, Microsoft closed down on the day, Amazon as well, Facebook. But other than that, we had some pretty good breadth throughout the market, and the breadth was improving throughout the day. For these banks, banks did very well, and there was actually a headline that came out after the market closed saying that banks would be allowed to do their dividends again and their share buybacks. No problem. So I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow is another good day for the banks. But yeah, you can see the industrials look solid. You can see travel looked really solid as well, basic materials. So really, really nice bounce day. Wasn't as lackluster as many would have thought. And if we take a look at our sectors, yeah, sector map looks a lot better. And if you look at our top groups, we have the transports, we have the home builders, which are on fire. I'm actually going to pull up the home builders chart. Yeah, home builders look great. Essentially doing a bullish engulfing of, maybe 10 days of price action. So looking really good. And then let's see what else we have. Yeah, so we had home builders looking solid. Utilities and staples, both looking very solid. At one point, earlier today, these were the top groups in terms of momentum, but you can see the transports and home builders took over. And then you can see lagging the rest of the market. We had, what was the worst performer today? Yeah, so global social media was down 1.35%, and we had the cannabis sector down 1.13%. If we look at our style factors, you can see, what's strange is we have our two top style factors are high div, low vol, and min vol. So that is a very defensive, leadership right there. And then defensives are number 3. At the bottom, we have momentum, international momentum, and cyclicals. But today, our best performers were the cyclicals and the high beta. So it looks like those are making a comeback. Let's pull up. We'll take a look at some of my trades for the day. Today was definitely a better trading day for me. For this price action, it's been a very difficult environment, and I've had to sort of like adjust my game a little bit to do some more day trading, and just shorten up the time frames, and then also just like tighten up my risk management as well. So if we take a look here, so one thing I did. What did I do today? Oh yeah, so this was one of my better trades for the day. I got long the TLT May 15th 139 strike puts for 385, and I essentially caught the top in TLT, which basically everybody was really concerned about rising yields for the last month or so, and bonds really just got a nice bounce. But that being said, bonds were up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days in a row, and the TLT had tagged this 20-day moving average. Well, I saw this morning the TLT was up like 0.12%, and I was like, I think this is a good opportunity to short these bonds, just in case this downtrend resumes here in the TLT. So I was able to catch pretty much the top today, and that's already a pretty nice winner for me. If we take a look here, what else did we do? Yeah, so I closed out in the morning at 9:53. I took a SPY hedge into the close, and I was of the mindset today where, okay, we're actually getting a gap down, which is different than what we had been getting, where it was like big gaps up that got sold throughout the day. This was the complete reverse. And a lot of times when you're looking for a reversal, it is better. You want to see the market really weak in the morning. That way it traps a bunch of shorts, and then if it reverses, then you can get some nice short covering throughout the day. So I took my SPY puts off for 1351. I had paid 1020 for those. And then I got long some SPY calls pretty much immediately after for 635. Closed half of those out for a small gain at 659. And then I closed the remaining half for a nice winner. Closed those out for 757. Yeah, and that was when we really started to get that reversal in the market. I took some long FXI January 2022 calls. I said here, as of this writing, Chinese stocks, they're out of favor, and they're pulling back because they are pulling back stimulus. It's one thing I've noticed in just reading the past couple days. The Chinese, they are trying to pull back some of their leverage, some of their stimulus, and for that reason, Chinese equities, they're off like 15% from the highs. In the long term, I think that's going to be a good thing for them because they're taking their medicine now. Whereas like in the United States and some other countries, we are just, our leadership is never able to just have the guts to be like, we're going to remove some of these policies. If the market craters for a couple of weeks, and pulls back 15%, deal with it. Our leadership will never do that. Whereas the Chinese, that is what they are doing. So for me, I'm like, let me try to catch these when they're 15% down. I'll hold on to these calls, over the course of the year. And I don't think this is the end for Chinese equities. So that's more of like a long-term thematic trade. And then I got long some Qs, 310 strike calls for $7.89. And I was kind of posting my thought process in the Pristine Capital trading room, as to like what I was looking for in that day trade. Entered for $7.89. I closed half for $8.50. And then I closed the second half for $8.48. So nice little winner on that one. Then I tried to play the reversal. I got long some Q's puts for May for $12.89. That one, I didn't really see any downside follow through. It didn't look likely at all. So I stopped out of this one for $12.32. I had paid $12.89. And this one, I like this trade because, I want to tighten up my losers and make sure they're as tight as can be. This one I think was pretty textbook, where it was like I played for a pullback. Pullback didn't really come, so I just immediately cut that one out. And then into the close, I took some Deere 360 strike calls for May. Deere looks, very, very strong here. And this is a name where it's paid to purchase shares of Deere on these pullbacks. So I'm going to pull up this right here. This is a new layout I've been working on. And it's in TradingView. And this is something where I can definitely share this, once I'm off the prototype with Pristine Capital members. Let me pull this up. Yes, this one right here. Okay. Yeah, so I got a couple things going on here. This is Deere. And so if you take a look here, Deere pulled back to its 20-day moving average and then got a really nice bounce. Here on this bottom pane, what I'm doing is I'm tracking, what's the percentage distance of this stock from its 20-day moving average. And I actually want to build this out even further. You can do this in PineScript. It's like it's TradingView's like in-house coding language, and it's really cool where you can create your own indicators. So this is the distance from the 20-day. And what you can see really is that throughout the year, Deere gets very extended from the 20-day. You can see by these green bars, pretty much every time it slips under that 20-day, it's essentially a gift to buy this thing. If you bought below the 20-day here, held for about a month, you're making money. Same thing here, same thing here, same thing here, same thing here, all throughout. So yeah, Deere got a pullback to the 20-day. And I was like, you know what, I'm buying some Deere calls. And then if this happens to be like that one time it doesn't work, that could happen. But I do think the odds are sort of in our favor here. so long as the overall market holds up. So yeah, it seemed like a pretty high probability bet. And then for stock trading, okay, what did I do? So this was super funny. So I got long SRNGU. This is a SPAC I've been building a position in, and I saw it went all the way down to $10 a share, which is essentially like the par value for this SPAC. Meaning if it slips below $10, you can redeem this one for $10 flat. So say if it goes down to like $9.50 and you buy it, it's essentially, when it's pre-acquisition, it's essentially like you're buying a $10 bill for $9.50. So for this one, I was like, okay, this is a no-brainer. I'm going to add some. What was super funny is, I posted on Twitter, like, oh, I bought a SPAC today for $10 that people would have been clamoring over, a couple months ago. And I immediately got like some troll that was like, $10 is too much. It's going to be at $5 next week. And that I was like, of course, this is like the contrarian buy signal where as soon as there's essentially, I don't want to say it, but like no risk or very limited risk in these SPACs, that's where you get everyone saying like, I'm not buying that SPAC at $10. Like, that thing's going to go down. So yeah, this one ended up closing at like 10.09. So yeah, with this SRNGU, it's the same management team that brought DraftKings public and that brought Skills public. So I'm just kind of being patient with this one, really just accumulating it over time. And then once that management team, finds their acquisition target, I'll take it from there. But for now, it's really just like, a shell in the portfolio, really just holding on to it. And then, so I got long some Boeing at 241.30. This was over here. Or I got long at 241.13, excuse me. I ended up setting a stop at 241.30. I closed half of it for a small winner at 243.80, and then I held the rest into the close. Boeing is another one of those assets. It's in the industrials group. And it just looks very strong here. So you can see it closed up over 3%. And then if we take a look, let's see here. Then I also traded Vuzi. Vuzi, this one looked very promising. This was something, I talked about this in our room today with some members where it's like, this asset Vuzi is showing you pretty much everything that you want to see as an investor. So like you can see this one, it's above all the key moving averages. It's showing relative strength. You can see really high relative volume on some of these green days for Vuzi. So this one, if you're playing the odds as to like what's going to give me the best shot at success, Vuzi was that today. I picked it up when it was up maybe like 4%. This thing closed up 14.19%. So I used the analogy in the room of like, with looking at the technicals and looking at the chart, it's not like it predicts the future. But it's like, if you're evaluating like an NBA player, if you see like, okay, LeBron James averages 25 points a game, how much is he going to score in the next game? If somebody guessed, hey, I think he's going to drop 10 points in this game, that would be like, well, everything that he's shown in the past is showing you he has the potential to do a lot more. But I said, like, there's always, you have to manage your risk in case something happens. Like, he rolls his ankle, he injures himself, off night, stuff like that. Sure enough, Vuzi ended up doing just that, where this asset, looking really strong, giving you every indication of like this, has high potential. They ended up announcing that they were doing an equity offering right after the close. And that's pretty much like when a stock announces an equity offering, they're diluting all of their shareholders. So mathematically, the price of the stock should be lower. And a lot of these stocks, when they announce equity offerings, they really torpedo lower. So I immediately just cut this one out. In the after hours, I closed it for $24.60. Where is that here? Yeah, so I closed it in after hours for $24.60. Said news of an equity offering, just hit the tape. So of course, like first example, this is, LeBron James goes to play the game and he immediately sprains his ankle and, he's out for, 10 games of the season. That's essentially what happened here. But as a trader, you always have to be looking for these things, these potential risks to pop up. So that's the thing, like in trading, there's no, anything can happen. So this is just an example of that where, just had to react to that news and ended up closing it out at 24.60. I had paid $24 and a penny for that one. So small winner for Vuzi. If we take a look at some of my trades for today, or not my trades for today, some of this options order flow. Yeah, I think I need a nap after this or to go to bed early tonight. Let me see. So we have IWM. Let's take a look from the bottom here. Yeah, you can see the options order flow definitely got pretty bearish, especially when we were trading on the lows, because that's where you get that like, oh my gosh, the market's heading lower, I need to buy puts. Like you get that sort of reaction in the market. And you can see these players buying SPY puts. Then you can see, somebody buying Peloton, Taiwan Semiconductor. And you can see more IWM. You can see Qs. Really just overall, this is definitely like the bearish flow that I wanted to see. To have some people get pretty panicked in the market. So we'll have to see what happens. JPM, whoever bought this one, that was a really clutch buy, because of that announcement that banks can move forward with their buybacks, with their dividends. JPM will definitely be on my watch list for tomorrow to see if this one gets a move potentially back to like 160 or 157. That was a nice order there. Let me see this Qualcomm. We have materials. And XLB, I'm still holding on to my materials calls as well. Materials, very strong day today. Now let's take a look at QCOM. The semiconductors have definitely been a big disappointment. Let's see how they did. Down 0.08%. I had traded Micron and just no luck with this one. So this one, you can see ended up closing positive for the day, but this one definitely lost its trend. Let's see, the one that has done very well is Applied Materials here. This one held its trend very nicely. So that's probably the one that I would go for in the future. Now let's see what else we had. And then really just into the close, it looks like somebody getting on the shorting TLT train at the end of the day. But this is the bearish flow that I really wanted to see. So when the equity put to call ratio comes out later, I'll be looking at that. Another thing I was looking at today again was this CNN Fear and Greed Index. And this earlier today, it was at about like a 35, I believe it hit. And what's so funny is as soon as there's like actual palpable fear in the market, that's when like on Twitter, I will see everyone like, be patient out there, guys. Like you don't have to go out there and risk anything. Like, and it's always like a couple days too late, in my opinion, where like my feed this morning was like, everyone was like losing their minds, going crazy. And that's typically once I start to see that, that's when it's like, all right, regardless of whether, I was nailing shorts up here, which I certainly was not when the CNN Fear and Greed Index was at like a 75 or 80, I just have to see what's in front of me. Like right now, there's actual fear in the market. So I think we have a couple more days. Let's see if we can get past this month-end rebound, the pension selling and all that. But assuming we can get past that, the beginning of April, I'm looking forward to, hopefully playing some aggressive bullish price action. So we'll have to see. That about does it for this end of day recap video. Hope you all had a great trading day, and I will see you all tomorrow.